All right, guys. So we got another Sunday scan coming at you. This time as a special Mother's Day edition. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope you're all having a great weekend. It is a crazy market still. There is just unbelievable number of trades on a daily basis, and it's just about taking all of these names and fine-tuning it into a list that fits your own personality. And what I may be watching may not be good for your personality. But my goal on Scan each and every time is to break it down into different watches. So typically you see I have my main watches. Those are what's good for my personality. What is my A+ setups. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. I have some continuation ideas, some 30, 40, 50 cent type stock ideas. I have some short, failed follow through momentum type ideas, and then some big picture ideas. So my goal every weekend is to kind of fit all the different types of traders, but that does not necessarily mean that it fits you. So really the key is in this market, seeing the charts over and over. I always talk about that. So typically I take all those hundreds of charts that I look at and break it down into about 3, 4, 5 main watches, typically 3 or 4. And then I put them into the different, kind of themes, sectors, or types of trades that they are, so that I can kind of quickly look at it in the morning and get a feel for, what it is that, I was prepared for. And then secondly, I have numerous names on watch, which I have underneath for price alerts. And I mention this every single time, but it's such a key thing. We have price alerts in the Investors Underground chat room, right? So a lot of times people like E-Trade have it, and it goes through the platform, and then you look at your phone at 4 p.m. and you have 17 triggers that went off, but you never saw them, right? So the point here, the key here is, where are you going to actually see these alerts? So it just pushes right through the chat room so you can see it, which, in my mind is the best of the best, because I use that every single day. Things don't fade off my radar. They do, but rarely do they, because I'm continually being alerted. Hey, it just hit this level. Hey, it just hit that level. Hey, it just hit that level. So in the morning, it takes me about 10 minutes every single day. But I'm going to put everything that potentially interests me and the levels that it would interest me, right? So a lot of, or at least one of the most popular questions that I get is, how do you set price alerts? What do you look for? So yes, you always look left. But if a stock's ramping up and it's stuck in between a particular level, right, 2 levels, I want to know if it breaks through this level. I want to know if it breaks under this level. And then maybe a couple more every 50 cents or something like that, in case I miss one of those alerts that triggers when I'm away or something like that. So with that said, I spend about 10 minutes and I just go through everything and I say, okay, well, Uber looks great if it got over this level. And then if it went over that level, this would be the next level. And that way, I've got my main watches right here, but I don't have to watch Uber, because when Uber is ready for me to trade it, it's going to trigger. It's going to tell me. So it takes basically 20, 30, 40 watches and allows you to watch 3 or 4, but being aware of 20, 30, 40 watches, right? So the other part of that is seeing the name once. So although I don't have them all on Scan, I have a list of some of them at the bottom tonight, I've seen the chart. I'm that much more familiar with the potential and just kind of knowing when the trade may be close, right? So there are particular names that I know there's a possibility I may trade, especially on the short side, for example. And then each morning, I'll look to secure, some stock just in case it's hard to borrow. mRNA, for example, is relatively cheap. So I don't mind, having that, paying for it, taking the loss if I don't trade it at all on the borrow fee, just to have it ready. And I'll give you an example of that on Friday, SPCE. We had a headline that came across that Branson was going to be selling $1 billion worth of stock or whatever it was. I don't even remember at this point. But I had already borrowed 5 or 10,000 shares that morning because I knew there was a potential that I would trade this thing and I would want to be ready. That 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds that it would have taken me to locate the stock, find find it, put it in, accept it, and then short it, I would have already missed 30, 40, 50 cents. So because I already had to borrow, I was able to react that much quicker and maybe captured $1 or $1.20 per share instead of 40 or 50 cents a share. So I'm always there in the morning thinking, what would I trade? What potentially could I trade? And if the borrow's not crazy, I don't mind spending a couple $100 on a couple different names just to be prepared. Because that minute, that second, whatever it may be that you save is going to be the difference between a huge trade and an okay trade. So, and the cost of that is minimal compared to obviously yes, some of these hard to borrow names, things like that, they can be expensive. So no, I don't just borrow every single hard to borrow name. It just depends on what are the chances I'm going to trade this. So for example, if PTGX, which is my first watch, tomorrow looks great pre-market and it's hard to borrow, I'm probably going to locate some because I just want to be prepared. Whether or not I'm going to trade it out of the gate, who knows? But I just want to be prepared so that when and if it does parabolic and there's an opportunity, I don't have to sit there, go get the borrow and do that. It's worth the potential loss of not even trading it to the loss of the borrow fee to me. So, kind of think about that. Obviously, I'm not telling you to go out and borrow, a ton of stock and spend thousands of dollars and, potentially lose it all. But at least as far as an edge, think about your A+ setups and which ones you'd likely trade. And that, to me, SPCE was a perfect example of it. For potentially wasting $40, the return was way bigger than that. And it's because I was prepared. So anyway, another question that I got. And again, you guys are leaving questions in the comment section. I'm reading them and I'm trying to give feedback on some of these Sunday scans. So as always, leave your feedback, leave your biggest takeaway, leave your questions. And I always try to make these as interactive as possible in the start of it before we get into the scan. Whatever's most relevant to the current market environment, all that stuff. So and they've been pretty timely, as far as not pre-exhausting yourself on the front side of moves, looking left, the VWAP, all that kind of stuff. So I was going to talk a little bit about screen time and things like that, but by asking the questions in the room, or excuse me, in the comment section, it's fantastic because it allows me to kind of expand on things. So somebody asked me, about the stop loss. I've mentioned, I had Centerpoint give me a hard stop, right? Because I know my weakness. I know my weakness as a trader. When I'm trading, I rarely have huge losses, right? It's typically I start in very small and I scale into the winner. However, if the trade starts to reverse and for whatever reason I don't stop out and I start to fight it or get stubborn, that's where my losses come from. So the only way to stop that for me, which you can say what you want, maybe it's bad, maybe it's I'm a poor trader, but I'm admitting that I don't have it in me sometimes to go ahead and just stop out where I know I should. So because of that, I want to have a backstop that says, hey, you didn't play by the rules, you're out. And then that way it stops here and it doesn't turn into something crazy. And that's happened many times in the past. I've always talked about going back and reviewing your trades from the prior year, right? If you can pick 5, 8, 12 days out of that year that had you stopped at X, you would have saved 100 grand, 500 grand, $1 million, whatever it may have been. Think about that, right? So if you can always control that loss from turning into something extreme, that's worth it. And it's worth it being upset and pissed off that you stopped out, because overall, one of those or maybe half of those times that you stop out would have turned into those, 5, 10, 15 times per year that you had that disaster of a day. So what is that number? That could be anything for anybody, any number, right? You can figure that out on your own. For me, it's a day or two's gains. I don't want to set myself back a week. I don't want to set myself back 2 weeks or a month, right? If you're trading really well, 15 out of 20 days a month or 18 out of 20 days a month, and that those 2 days, you give back the month, you're going nowhere fast. You just worked the whole entire month to give it back, right? So the key is to give back a day or two max. That's your number, in my opinion. So never let that loss get bigger than that. Obviously, there's going to be outlier situations. Obviously, there's going to be outlier days. And just, sometimes crap happens. But if you can control that loss to 1 to 2 days, I think that your trading is going to see a huge uptick. And if you can't do that yourself, have your broker do it for you. It is what it is, right? You stopped out. You shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. And more often than not, if you do get into that situation, do you stop out on your own? The answer for me is no. So therefore, I have them do it automatically. My Dash Trader automatically kicks me out, okay? So, another note. Intermediate Series 3 is coming on YouTube tomorrow. So make sure, if you go to the YouTube channel, you click Investors Underground, you should be subscribed if you do the Sunday scans. However, if you click the little bell, you're going to get a notification tomorrow as soon as we upload that. So check that out. It was a very good presentation, Intermediate Series 3. I know we get thousands of comments asking, when are you going to finish? When are you going to finish? If you had any idea how backed up we are, it's insane. But we're trying to, one step at a time, we're going to finish that Intermediate Series that you guys love. So if this is your first time kind of seeing a Sunday scan, make sure you check out the free kind of Learn to Day Trade series. Totally free, very, very good quality. Cam and myself, spent a lot of time on it, and kind of it's a pay it forward. And if you like what you see, you kind of know what we're about at Investors Underground. Other than that, working out. I have 3 more points to talk about tonight. Working out. I've talked about it a couple times now, as far as, exercising the same piece of your brain that you need when you're trading, right? If you can't stay in a rhythm working out, then how do you expect to stop out when you should? How do you expect to have consistency in trading if you can't even be consistent in, workout routine or gym or whatever? And just like the stop, right? I've got my own weaknesses. Same thing working out. Would I go to the gym? Yes. Would I probably look at my phone a lot? Yeah, probably. Would I probably stop at 20 when I know I should do 50? Probably. So when you surround yourself with people that are going to motivate you or keep you accountable, you're going to see big, big changes. Not only in your physical, but your mental and your ability to kind of trade more clearly. So, some of the best traders, one of the best traders I know, has been working out with us as well. And, he just even hit me up the other day because my trainer needed 1 day off. And I was like, hey, let's just do it anyway. So we just got on Zoom call, 5 or 6 of us, and did the workout that he sent us anyway. And he had hit me up and said, had you not done that, I would have slept in. And, that is the goal here, is to get people motivated, get you guys in the right frame of mind. So anyway, I've tweeted it out. I've put it on Instagram. But if you guys DM my buddy Zach, then he's giving you guys 4 days free to check out the workouts and, keep you accountable. And I think that you will really enjoy it. So far, everybody has. But it's up to you to kind of take that first step and actually do it. Other than that, the last 2 points were cleanup moves on the daily chart. There's a lot of nice chart setups on Scan tonight. where they kind of had that ramp up, pull back, consolidate, and are setting up. So that ramp up with high volume, typically I consider that like a cleanup move where it just kind of cleans everybody up. Everybody kind of either covers if they were short, maybe buys into that ramp, and then it kind of just settles down, keeps everybody, on their toes. If you bought the breakout, maybe you bail, and then they start to set up again. So what I do is I look for that prior top, setting up, look for those wicks we talk about where, each morning dips, comes back stronger, dips, come back stronger. I have a lot of charts like that I'm watching that are set up perfectly for a lot of breakouts, a lot of potential squeezes. If they do not break out, they're going to be great unwinds. So the point here is keep an eye on those potentials, but also stay perma unbiased, right? So, be okay switching sides quickly if it doesn't do what you expect, because look, we've gone straight up on the market. It's just like before. I feel like there's more shorts than ever before. Ever before. I mean, just look at Wayfair. $20 to $180, And, that could still go to 220, 250. It really could. Because I don't know anybody that's been bullish, right? So, kind of think about that when you're trading these things. If every single piece of news was negative, Zoom, ZM, every single piece of news was negative, and it kept on taking out highs. Take note of those kind of situations. And last but not least, so it's been a great year for me. It's been a great weeks for me. It's been incredible. But, you also have to take into consideration the trades at hand and size and all that kind of stuff. So last week was great. But Thursday and Friday, still both profitable days, but I took on more risk than I think I probably needed to, and I was a little bit too sloppy in the sense that, Uber or Disney, just being short a lot of stock, being up huge, but then forgetting, that 50 or 70 cent rebound is a lot of money, especially when you're sized in. So that constant reminder, and again, like I said last week, verbalize your thoughts, verbalize your trades. Right now, I'm verbalizing it, so tomorrow I'm gonna remember. When I'm sized up and it stops breaking down, I'm gonna remember, hey, 50 cents is a big move when you have a lot of shares, right? So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm verbalizing to you that when you size the F up, make sure that if the trade stops doing what you want, move on, scale down, size down, whatever it may be, you can always re-add. So that is it. Let's get into the scan. So PTGX. All right, so this one, in my opinion, got a little bit of attention because of the MGNX move. So for those of you guys that are not familiar with MGNX, that was an insane one. And hopefully you guys saw it. We had it in the room. I was long at 13, and I guess my magic ball was working that day, and I said that I was expecting 23 to 27. It hit 27, I think, 43? Or 34. I always get it opposite. 34. 27, 34. So, a lot of people, you see a move that's up $5, $6, $7, $8, and you're like, all right, what was the last one? And so you think about MGNX. So, with that said, this PTGX, it's up, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh boy, this could be the next MGNX. I'm not going to sell. I'm going to stay long. I'm going to let it work. And so there's no real pressure from sellers because they all want to hold for 18, 20, 25, whatever. And I kind of sense that. I sense when everybody is kind of long biased. Same thing as Wayfair. Do you know any longs? No, everybody wants to short it. Do you know any shorts on this? No, everybody's long. Everybody thinks it's the next MGNX. So with that said, you wait and you look for, oh, it should have squeezed there. It should have done this. It should have done that. Those are the signs that you start to look for. So I always like to kind of dabble in, and then I get a feel for what's going on, let it kind of squeeze out, understand that it's not just going to go down without a fight. So this is the first time it kind of pulls back. Everybody's like, all right, it's time. And they hit it. without any confirmation. So a lot of times you have that second win. So in the room, I said this is where all the people that just loaded short squeeze out. If it fails here, I'm going to start to scale up, basically. And so that's exactly what we did. Look left, and you can see this 1560s, 1550s level crack, and then it comes back and it retests that. So it confirms that this prior resistance here, support here, now becomes resistance upon the confirmation, and then unwinds. So again, it's still relatively front side, so you want to be on the cover side until things slow down. You want to remain emotionless compared to the move here. You don't want to size up too much that you're covering into a breakout, because at the end of the day, this was just a stuff move. And if you're oversized, you're going to be covering with emotion. So again, look left. Why did I short into that move? Why was I unfazed by this, this push right here? Because I was kind of expecting it. I was expecting everybody that oversized into this move to get stopped out and stuff. And I wrote that in the room. We were prepared for that. But again, look back to 1105, look back to 12, look back to, this basically 210. And you can see that that same level, 1450, 1460s, acted as the top. They did this one head fake, stopped everybody out and slammed it back down, and then that was it. So hopefully higher the better. I'm hoping we get some type of big uptick and then looking to fade it. But even if it gaps down, I'd still be interested. But of course, be cautious with too much of a bias. mRNA, this one I've donated pretty much every single day. There was a couple good trades that I've had on it, and then there's other days where I'm up a lot and I overstay, or other days where I just kind of dabble in a little bit, let it squeeze me out for $1 or $2. Granted, I'm not sized in. It's just kind of wasted money. So my goal would be 62, 65, some type of parabolic move, and then look for the backside. I think this is another one where everybody's looking for the top. Take notes, right? Everybody, every single PM that I've received is, hey, where do you think this is going to top? Hey, do you think it's backside yet? Hey, do you think this is a short? Take notes. Realize that nobody is thinking about a breakout, and it continues to go higher. Same thing as ZM. So in my opinion, everybody's on the wrong side of this. We might even go into 70s. We might even keep on going. So I'm only going to look for those outlier days, those days with big opportunity, just like SHOP, the SHOP trade that we had about 2 weeks ago. The days that I want to trade it is the day that it's overextended. The day before, goes up without any correction, gaps up, parabolic, failed follow through. So similar with this. Those are really the only days that I want to trade this. I don't want to be daily grinding in this thing because I'm going to lose overall. Mark has been a super popular one. I think it's pretty obvious. There's a huge seller at 110. Yes, they've let it go above that a little bit here and there. But overall, there's a huge seller at 108, 109, 110. So, right now I have no position on this. Traded it well the last couple days, both long and short. But there's a lot of momentum behind this move. It reminds me of FCEL. I think there's earnings this week. If shorts are looking for that exit into earnings, and they might get a crack, right? Say it goes back down to 85, 90 cents. They aren't let out entirely. But if it starts to come back, that's when I'm interested. Because that means they weren't let out. That means, whatever they were hoping for, 50, 60 cents, they're not getting. So I would be super, super cautious. I think everybody is very long here. I could see a gap happening just because, StockTwits is going to go, nuts over the weekend and talking about win and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't think win deal is really a big thing at all. They're probably going to do it for free just to kind of get their name out there. But, as far as an investment, obviously not. But I'm just looking for the outlier moves for, some type of edge. But be aware, I don't know what day the earnings are, but they should be right around this week based off history. Other than that, Uber failed follow through. Ideally, I will watch with Lyft. Lyft was a little bit friendlier. You can see seller at VWAP. So hopefully we get a push towards 433 on Monday, maybe a little bit higher. Let's see what the market does. If we're up 500 points on Monday, then obviously this is not going to be a short. But I will be watching for relative weakness. Speaking of price alerts, I want to know at 32.50. I want to know at 33. Just draw the lines across that channel and then maybe put another one, 10 cents, 20 cents lower, 50 cents lower, just in case you miss that original alert. MRAM is fantastic. Great trade plan. My goal was to buy into the 470s flush and basically risk off of 470s. It was working great until a newsletter came in. I have a rule, and some people ask me what I mean by newsletter. I just mean a influential individual chat person, whatever you want to call it, that has thousands of traders all doing the same exact thing, right? People that alert an exact entry with, thousands of sheep doing the same thing. That free look that we talked about. We just did State of the Market webinar, and I was talking about the free look. You get that free look. And so that when they come in, if it does not break out, if it does not squeeze, you get that free look. And I have a rule that, most of the time, 90% of the time, I'm happy that I sell, right? So anytime a newsletter comes in, I exit. So basically, I traded it a couple times. It worked out great. I still have a position on, just small, but so far my thought process worked out very well. I traded a few times from 470 to 520s, 530, 540s. And then at the end of the day over here, a newsletter came back in, and they ended up getting stuffed. And then I think just late day was some covers. But overall, I'm thinking big picture kind of idea here. Let's see if 470 starts to consolidate over the next couple days. And if so, then I don't want to take it off watch. It could be a setup like RVP where, it had that first big move and then it takes a couple days before it breaks out again. So again, I'm not looking for a crazy breakout tomorrow. I'm looking at overall kind of if they start to pick up the dips, I'm interested. RTTR. So I've got two of these on watch. Now, RTTR and BPMX are both, we've traded these before, but they both have votes upcoming this week. One is RTTR is on the 14th, and BPMX is on the 13th. So this one's actually before, which the 13th is Wednesday, and then RTTR is on Thursday. So the only reason I'm watching these, and I did dabble, there was a pretty steady buyer on Friday. So I do have a position on these two. But I'd want to see trend continuing if I was going to add. But it's a trade for me. And if it fails, then I'll move on. But the thought is in 2019, all these ones that had these votes coming up for mergers and things like that, they would double into the merger vote. So I'm not saying that hold through the merger vote and all this crap. Who knows what could happen after that. But if the trade sets up, if the volume's there, if the action's there, this is the week that these would move. And so that's the only reason I'm watching these two. So keep an eye on those, set your price alerts, but they have ran in the past, and like I said, in 2019 there was a ton that went off. Other than that, FWP, thin one, be cautious with it. I mean, it's had a history of some huge runs, but the volume is low. The only reason I'm interested this time is it's got a catalyst in June, and there was a steady buyer. I look for that steady buyer like this. You can see somebody kind of scooping up, consolidating it throughout the day. So that kind of stuff interests me. And you've seen this on charts before, as to why I might position into something. And it's just like AKER a while back. So 2 times anyway. But I think last Sunday we talked about it. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a home run. it just means that there's a buyer there. So let me show you on this intraday chart. So you can kind of see, steady buyer, no rush. It's just kind of perks up, but there's a bid higher. Perks up, bid higher. Perks up, bid higher. So that's the kind of stuff that I look for. Anyway, FWP was hitting my scanner on Friday. So definitely potential. There's no reason to chase it, but 750, 8's probably key levels. I would have 750, 8, and 850 as price alerts and, kind of see what happens from there. Other than that, KTOV, again, nice little breakout. But again, I would be cautious until it gets over this 50 level. So far, that's the peak. But I'm telling you right now, these things have been going insane. And not necessarily this one doesn't mean this one has to go. But I'm just trying to hit all bases. And right now, the number of accounts that are being opened, if you just look at Robinhood numbers, if you look at Schwab, E-Trade, all that kind of stuff, people like cheap stocks. So we've been seeing these 100, 200, 300 million share days on all these stuff, all these names that are, under 50 cents, 60 cents, and they're doing crazy things, just like Mark. Mark just came out of nowhere. So I'm watching all of these. I need to get better at them. But it definitely is something not to avoid if you're familiar with it, because it's a unique time right now with the number of traders that are out there. VUZI, this one reminds me just like Mark, where they had a tweet every single day, PRs three times a day, and it just never went anywhere. Then all of a sudden it had 15, 20 million volume, and here it is. So everybody was trained to short every single day, and it never went anywhere. It was always free money, short the pop. All right, good. And now it's up here. So I think that shorts could be caught. If we start to see it base 250, 270s over the next couple days, we could have a nice breakout 3, 4, 5. I'm not suggesting or uber bullish on this thing, but the volume, follow the price action. You might have a T+2 buy-in, and they love PRs. So again, it's just like Mark, where 99 out of 100 times that they put out something, they sell it off quickly, but it finally went. So I think a lot of people might be on the wrong side, and let's just see what happens. So those are the main ones for watch. Then I have secondary kind of watches, SPCE. I have a whole list of price alerts. So as I say every time, there's a link in the bottom or in the description, so you can go to my full scan, and it goes right to the Investors Underground link, and I write out all my thoughts that I've said verbally. And so in the morning, like I said, it's going to take me about 10 minutes, but I'm gonna basically go through the charts, look left, figure out what levels I want to be alerted to, and then set these up for UPWK, TWOU, CVET. There's a list of about 12. So I'll be watching those. SPCE, I want to stay familiar. This is one of those where I'd love to short it, but I know shorts are bent right now. So I could see this kind of squeezing out first and then pulling back. This goes back to the video we did on don't pre-exhaust yourself. Yeah, there's going to be a great short soon, but wait for it. CCL, this thing's set up beautifully. There's a lot of positivity this weekend with everybody booking cruises and things like that. So, that's all great, but let's see what happens. We might have a buck or two gap. We might have something crazy on these, but be careful, getting too bullish. Also too bearish, obviously. I'm looking to join a trend. The only way I would reshort these is if we have some type of gap up parabolic type move, which is like the last time that I shorted them. TBIO daily chart is beautiful. Doesn't mean it has to break out, but set your triggers. 1480s, 15s, very easily could squeeze. Save, I started into a swing on this one. They just raised at 10. I'd love more pullbacks, but I'm going to look to kind of position into dips. And I don't like it if it pulls back under 980s, but The idea was buy weakness towards 10 on Friday in the room, and that's exactly what I did. So nice rebound so far, but I was thinking it might have, you know, a 20-30% type bounce off the low 10s. SIG, I'll be watching. There's a good chance I forget about this, but I'm going to be watching and setting price alerts. I think that it might fade tomorrow morning, and then over the next Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be watching, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Probably Wednesday, Thursday. I'd be looking for maybe like a 1050 kind of base, 1020, 1050 base, and then rebound. And I would potentially swing it. Same thing, RVLV, same thought process. I think it might be a short out of the gate, but then I'm going to be looking for it to kind of base. So these ones are examples of cleanup moves that I started talking about at the start of this entire video. So, you know, SIG might be that first big day, then let it kind of pull back, consolidate, reset up, and look left for this next breakout over 11. Maybe it's a couple days, maybe it's next week. RVLV, same thought process, right? CHK, still trading around this one. It's actually been a decent trader if you take, you know, some of the gains. It goes about $1, pulls back, you know, maybe it pulls back a little bit more, goes another $1.50. But at some point, if there is anything less negative or any other headlines, it might be a trade here. MBR was another recent split. Just keeping an eye, price alerts, and MGNX. Last but not least, we already talked about it a little bit, but you can see the wicks are starting to get bought. So I would like to see a little base, and if it starts to break out later in the week, we might get $1, $2, $3 type move. But for now, just assume that it's going to stay, you know, a magnet around 20. So that's all I've got for tonight. This week, who knows? You know, maybe I'll be trading, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll be in the hospital with the wife. You know, so I could have a baby any day. So you know, I'm going to be taking it day by day, and you know, see where we end up. But you know, if not, then I'll be trading this week, and hopefully, you know, if I miss a Sunday scan next week, you'll know why. But other than that, if you have any questions at all, if you're thinking about becoming a member and you have questions, email cam@investorsunderground.com, and he's more than willing to help out in any way, answer any questions that you might have. And last but not least, had somebody. There it is. I knew I was going to screw up the name. So Tim Sakharchuk is this week's winner. So that's Momo Trader's book, and we'll ship that out to you as well. So have a great rest of the weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and we'll catch you in the room tomorrow.